But here's the trick with sustainability. You can trick your body into it. Eat as much as you want as long as it's whole food, plant-based, and exercise, and you're gonna be healthy and you're gonna lose some weight up until one point. From that point, if you want to tighten and optimize, the idea is not that if you miss a workout on one day, it's the end of the world. It's just eventually that little momentum that starts to build up becomes easier for you to continue to show up. And you only get to do that by pushing the flywheel and starting to build some momentum for yourself. You're gonna try things, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna repeat, you're gonna learn from it, and eventually you'll dial in your system where a year down the road, you'll be like, oh, this is second nature to me. This always bends my mind a little bit. Did you know that 61.9% of those of you who listen to the show regularly haven't subscribed to the show? So if I could ask you a big favor before we start, if you like the show and you like what we do here and you want to support us, the free, simple way that you can do that is simply by hitting the subscribe button below. As we don't run ads on the podcast to provide the best uninterrupted experience possible. And my commitment to you is that if you subscribe, that I'll do everything in my power, my team and I, to ensure that this show is better for you every single week. And we will continue to listen to your feedback. We will find the guests that you want me to speak to and continue to do what we do. Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. I am your show host, Maxime, and today we're going to be talking about the Transformation Flywheel. So this is a principle that I started to construct maybe a few weeks ago and that I am still kind of refining. I'm about 90% there, but I wanted to record a podcast on it because I brought it up to some of our Fit Vegan members and they thought that it was absolutely incredible in helping them understand, the beginning processes of them transforming their body composition on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So if we imagine a flywheel, if you're listening on audio, it's like a really big wheel. Think of, I think it's the show's Wheel of Fortune where people kind of have to spin it and it lands on a prize or an amount of money, whatever it may be. So think of this massive, heavy wheel, okay? That's what we're going to be using to explain the analogy of your transformation. And before I go into why I'm explaining this, it's because, we've helped between 850 to 900 people so far. I have to look at the numbers and kind of update it, but we've helped hundreds and hundreds of people transform successfully their body composition from ages ranging from 20 all the way up to 86 years old. And obviously, as you transform that many people, you start to see some patterns. And one of the top things that I saw that would prevent people from reaching their goal or for coming to completion is when there was a mismanagement of expectation. And so if you were to come in and say like, hey, you're going to lose 20 pounds in the first month, you don't lose 20 pounds in the first month, you're going to be discouraged. So if you've set unrealistic expectations for yourself and then you weirdly don't meet those unrealistic expectations that you had, people get discouraged. And so we always like to paint the unsexy picture of what needs to happen to have a transformation. That way we have proper management of expectation. So this analogy that I'm going to go through is to kind of go into the weeds of what's going to happen when you start your transformation, when you start to build momentum, how you keep it, how you get back on track when you go off track. So go back to the analogy of having this massive flywheel. It is very heavy. So you can imagine that it's just you by yourself trying to push it to get to turn it, or you're pulling to trying to turn it. So it's going to require a ton of effort at first because you're moving something that has zero momentum that's extremely heavy. For a lot of you, that is how you're starting your transformation. You have no prior experience with resistance training, or you've never been consistent with it before. You haven't done it for a long time. Either you're not eating healthy right now, you're looking to transition to eating healthy. You're not eating plant-based, you're transitioning to eating plant-based, or you're eating whole food plant-based, but you're not putting any attention and awareness towards proportion and quantities. And so we have to change your structure and the system of how you're eating. So we're trying to move this massive dead weight and start to build some momentum. Some of you have a little bit of momentum, but you're just doing it in the most inefficient way, right? So just continue the analogy. If you have zero momentum, you're trying to move this big, heavy wheel. You have to put a lot of effort in first to get it to start turning. And you have to keep your hand on it you have to continue putting effort into it to get it to continue moving. Because if you start pushing and it starts moving a little bit and you remove your hand, it's going to go back to being dead weight. That's why when you start your transformation, we don't ask you to be perfect. We want to focus on consistency, because consistency is you continuously putting effort towards pushing the flywheel. When you are pushing at one point, are you going to be stronger at another point? Absolutely, because there's different position on the wheel. So just like in your transformation, there's going to be moments where you are stronger, in some moments where you're a little bit weaker, but because you are there showing up and giving the best that you got, even if you're feeling 40% and you give 100% that 40%, you're going to continue to be able to move that flywheel slowly over time. Now, The more you push, the more you show up consistently, the more you don't take off your hands off the flywheel, which is same in your transformation, the more you consistently show up, again, not perfection, but just the act of showing up. Eventually, what starts to happen is that flywheel starts to build a little bit of momentum, right? Maybe after 7, 8, 10 turns, you have to put a lot less effort than when you first try to move it when it was dead weight. Like, okay, this is still very hard. I still have to have my hands on the flywheel, but this is a lot easier than when I was trying to move some dead weight before. And eventually, the more and more you keep your hand on it, the more and more you put some effort, the easier it's going to become. And eventually it's going to start to build some momentum for itself where, several spins down the line, eventually you'll be able to just have one hand on it and continue pushing it, right? And at a certain point, it's going to be spinning on its own where you're going to be able to potentially just give it a spin, take your hand off. When it starts to slow down a tiny bit, put your hand, spin it again, and it's going to be able to continue moving without you having to have your hands on it the whole time. So here's how that translates to your transformation. When you're going to start your transformation, it's going to be challenging. You're trying to move dead weight. You have to change how you manage your time. You have to change how you prioritize the things that are on your plate so that you can have the time to exercise and eat healthier food and meal prep, which again are the most important thing that you should be able to prioritize, because if you get these two simple systems and habits down, guess what's happening? You live longer, you have less risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer, and you're going to feel freaking amazing. You're less likely to get injured as you get older. You're less likely to end up being skinny fat. You'll be more mobile as you get older. You'll be able to enjoy your life later on. So like those are two core fundamental habits that should not be ignored. They should not take over. They should not be neglected because you want to watch Netflix or scroll on your phone or because you have an inability to say no to other people. You should prioritize these two things so that when you're 80 and 90 years old, you feel freaking phenomenal. We have one remembers Pam in the program. She's 86, crushing it, right? You want to be in that position. So when you first start off, you're basically trying to move dead weight, because if you are not in a position that where you want to, what you're currently doing isn't working. And so we have to shift the system that you're using. And so that's how building dead weight. At first, you're going to have to put a lot of effort because you're going to have to block off some time in your calendar to, now do some workouts. You're going to have to block off some time in your calendar to do your meal prep. Now you're going to have to do the dishes. You're going to have to organize things differently. So it might be mentally challenging while you're figuring out all of these things. That's why it's a lot of effort to start it from dead weight. But as you start to move along and you start to do your meal prep, eventually you build your own little systems, because honestly, the layout of a kitchen makes a tremendous difference as to how you're going to meal prep, the equipment you have access to, right? If you have an air fryer, if you have Vitamix, if you have different tools, it'll change how, if you have a crock pot, it'll change how you do meal prep. And so as you start to meal prep, eventually you'll develop your own little systems to make it streamlined and more efficient. So that's the wheel starting to be easier to push. You're like, okay, I'm kind of figuring this out. I'm building a little bit of momentum. I'm figuring out my own little systems. You figure out that, okay, I need to go to the gym in the morning versus the evening time, because evening time I want to spend time with my family and I'm tired and I'm less likely to do it. So I got to do it first thing in the morning. That means I have to go to bed earlier. You might not get that system down right away, but eventually you'll figure out how to go to bed on time earlier. And again, you figuring these things out is you continuing to push the wheel and turning it and turning it. Yes, it requires a lot of effort, but as you're moving along, as you're trying to figure it out, it becomes easier because you're slowly building some momentum for yourself. And eventually, several months down the road, right, 6 months to 12 months down the road, now you potentially can have one hand on the wheel and get it to spin. You can't take off your hand potentially necessarily yet, right? You have one hand on the wheel, you can continue spinning it, but it still requires some effort from you. It means you still have to show up, right? And at that point, you got your meal prep dialed in, you got your time management dialed in for when you're going to do your workout, prioritizing, eating healthy food. You have different little mindset frameworks that you have for making decisions when you eat out, when you're at social events. You've started to better handle that specific area of your life for health, fitness, and nutrition. Now, what happens when you're in my position? I've been exercising for 19 plus years now. Yeah, 19 plus years. For me, not say that I don't have to have my hand on the flywheel, but I can just give it a little push with a finger and it'll keep spinning because it's spinning so fast because I've built so much momentum throughout the years. But just like everyone else, if I stop exercising, if I stop eating healthy food, that flywheel comes to a dead stop. It'll be very hard for me to get back on it, right? So no one is immune to being fit and healthy forever or not being affected by stopping exercising and eating healthy. Like that is a thing that you have to do for the rest of your life. But eventually, as you build the momentum for example, I have such momentum for myself that if I want to go eat out with Ivy and, I don't really have the craving to eat a ton of shit food, but let's just say that I was to eat a ton of shit food because I have so much momentum built, because my body is so healthy, because my metabolism is so optimized, I'll eat one bad meal. I'll feel like crap, obviously, the next day, but it's not going to set me back 3 weeks in my progression and my level of fitness, right? It'll just be like a quick little ding, like the wheel's still going to be spinning, and I'm still going to be able to stay in great shape and move forward. I just will feel terrible because I ate terrible food. That's pretty much it. But when you start off, if you start off and after like a month you have a terrible meal, it might set you back several weeks in your progression because your body's not fine-tuned yet, because you haven't built that compounding, that momentum for yourself. And so yes, it's harder at first. Yes, it requires some effort, but the more you push, eventually the easier it becomes. And eventually you don't have to have your hand on a flywheel. You don't have to worry about your food every day. You don't have to exercise every single day. Like I exercise now, it's a little bit less because I'm really busy with podcasts and all that stuff. 3 strength training sessions a week, 1 basketball session, and maybe an extra one of basketball, depending if people are playing. But that's pretty much all I'm exercising right now compared to before when I was training 15 hours a week, right? And so as you push, that momentum will be built for yourself. So I'm just sharing this analogy with you for you to understand, depending on where you're at in your journey, if you're just starting this journey of figuring out exercise, nutrition, all these things, yes, it's going to be challenging at first. We're literally starting from a dead stop, right? You're going to have to put a lot of effort into it. So a coach will help you have a streamlined process to do that so that you don't work hard on the wrong things, but you're still going to have to work hard, if that makes sense, right? Having a coach won't make it less hard. It just will make sure that you don't work hard on the wrong things and waste a bunch of time and energy. We just want to streamline that energy, but it's still going to require hard work, because if you want to improve and you're asking for help, that means that the current system and current life that you have is not bringing you to where you want to be, which is why you're asking for help to get a new system that's been proven to work. And then just consistently showing up. So that means if you can show up 80% of the time, that means 20% of the time, you potentially don't have your hand on the flywheel, or potentially that other 20%, you're not pushing as hard on the flywheel, right? Because you have to understand that every day you have several opportunities to stay on track. So if you have one bad meal, well, you can have great meals for the rest of the day. If you miss one workout on one day, that's totally fine. You could just do it the next day, right? The idea is not that if you miss a workout on one day, it's the end of the world. It's just you can do it another day, right? I can tell our members, most people exercise 3 to 4 times a week. So if you exercise 3 times a week, that means you have 4 days to move your workout to, if ever life happens and gets busy. If you work out 4 days a week, you have 3 days to move your workout around, right? You have a lot of flexibility. You don't exercise every single day. The only time that I did that was when I was training for Ironman, and that was every single day. I could not afford to miss a workout, but I was a commitment that I made to myself to do that. I don't train like that anymore because I have other priorities than spending 15, 20 hours exercising every week. So I'm trying to serve people and change lives. So I've changed my priorities. But ultimately, I'm sharing this because as you keep pushing consistently, again, not perfectly, eventually that little momentum that starts to build up. And eventually it becomes easier for you to continue to show up because it is a part of who you are. It is a part of your habit. You figured out how to do your meal prep efficiently. You figured out when you need to cook, what you need to cook, what meal delivery service you're going to use, when you're going to work out. Do you need to have your clothes ready? Are you going to exercise at your house? Are you going to exercise at the gym? You start to figure out your own little systems to make it work for your own life, because that part is unique to everyone. But the blueprint to get a great transformation, that we have that locked in. But how you are going to meal prep compared to someone else, completely different on your schedule. Again, your kitchen, the time that you have, if you have 3 kids, a partner, no partner, depending on where you live in the world, it'll change those things. But it is always possible. We just have to figure out the little nuances for your system, for your life specifically. And you only get to do that by pushing the flywheel and starting to build some momentum for yourself. And eventually you get to the place where I'm at, where, like I said, you don't have to work out or worry about it every single day. I can work out 3 times a week, go play basketball, and I know how to structure meals and I know how to listen to my body and just continue to be in a great shape. And we do that with members that are in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s and their 70s and in their 80s. And so it's not only that it's possible for me, but we've repeated that process hundreds and hundreds of times. And so I'm just sharing this so that you can manage your expectation of, yes, it'll be hard at first. You're literally trying to move dead weight or something that has a tiny bit of momentum, right? Like you eating whole food plant-based and hiking is not the momentum I'm talking about, because hiking is great, eating whole food plant-based is great. But the people that want to work with us, there are people that want to optimize themselves, right? Because I'll just put that out there. There's a lot of people, and I love all of them, and I've had several of them on the podcast. They say you eat whole food plant-based, eat as much as you want of anything that you want, as long as it's whole food plant-based, and you're going to lose weight and be healthy. I absolutely agree with that. That is not really the people that we work with. The people that we work with are the ones that want to optimize, the ones that want to improve their body composition. They want to build lean muscle. They want to tighten their body by losing body fat. And we do that with people that are in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? As our oldest member is 86 now. Maybe one day we'll have a 90-year-old in the program and help them out with that. But the reasons why I'm sharing that is because the core basics are basically like the strength training is what's going to make a difference to improve your body composition. Like hiking and eating whole food plant-based is not enough to get to that next level. If you want to focus on optimization, you need to be some strength training. There needs to be some awareness on, on your calorie intake, on the quantities, on the proportion of your meal so you can achieve that outcome. So yes, eat as much as you want as long as it's whole food plant-based and exercise, and you're going to be healthy and you're going to lose some weight up until one point. From that point, if you want to tighten and optimize, that's where we come in with people, right? That's when we start to push on the flywheel efficiently, because we don't want you to put a lot of effort towards the wrong direction and not get results and get discouraged, right? Because it is a lot of effort. Like if you actually care about your goal, you're actually going to put effort into it. It's just, can we streamline it towards the most efficient path versus wasting it? And so if you're 100 pounds overweight right now, eat whole food plant-based as much as you want, start exercising, don't eat processed food, you're going to lose some weight up until one point. Once you get to that point, then we need to refine the process to be able to get there so we can maximize your time and energy. I'll share that was not planned to be as a part of this podcast, but I'll share this because I wrote it as a part of the weekly newsletter. And if you guys listen to the weekly newsletter, it's the one that came out the Saturday prior to this podcast coming out. I talked about sustainability and building systems. So a lot of people, when they want to start their transformation, they say that they want it to be sustainable, right? I'm going to tie this into the flywheel. They want it to fit within their current life. But the reality is that their current life has a specific system in place, right? We can use the word system a lot, has a specific system in place that has led them to be in the position that they are in. In several areas of their life, it's beautiful. But if you have a desire to want to be healthier, fitter, have a tighter body, then the current system you have in place isn't working. So we need to replace that system with a new system. So your current system has specific mindset mapping that it does, specific mindset framing, specific habits when it comes to nutrition, specific habits when it comes to making decision for your food, when you're stressed, when you're not stressed, when you're busy, when you're not busy, and a specific set of rules when it comes to exercise and what that looks like or doesn't look like for you. That model, that system isn't working because you're not where you want to be. So what we do when we work with our members, and that's the same that's going to need to happen to you as well, even if you're doing it on your own, is you need to input a new system. Now, when you put that new system in place of resistance training 3 times a week minimum, doing some meal prep and prioritizing nutrition and playing around proportions and quantities to ensure that you get the outcome that you want, it will be challenging. It will not feel as sustainable at the beginning. But here's the trick with sustainability. You can trick your body into it. And that's what we do with our members, right? I want to be very clear about that. How can I explain that? Let's use an analogy. Let's compare these systems. Your current system plus a system that you need to change to get the outcome that you want that doesn't feel sustainable at the start. When you first started any job, all of you have worked somewhere at one point. When you start a new job in a new industry, like meaning you know nothing about the position, right? You come in there and you're like, damn, I don't know where to find this document. I don't know who to contact you for this. I don't know how this software works. I don't know how to do all of these things. And at the beginning, you're just lost. But someone trains you. You try things, you make mistakes, you learn from them, you refine it, and eventually you figure it out. Now, fast forward a year down the road, 2 years down the road, it's second nature for you, right? You have a new employee coming in that was you at the beginning, and they ask you a bunch of questions. You're like, oh, this is easy. You just do this, you do that, you do that. This is how this works, because you've done it over and over again. So for you, it becomes second nature. It becomes, in certain words, like sustainable. So sustainability only comes from repeated action over time, and it becomes second nature, which is what will make it sustainable. Your current system is sustainable for you, but it's not producing the outcome that you want in terms of you losing fat, building lean muscle, strengthening your bones. If you want a new outcome, you need a new system being plugged in But just be aware that when you plug in that new system, it will be like starting a new job. Like, meal prep, how do I structure the meals? Doing a squat? What, with weights? What? I have to block off time to go to the gym. I have to block off time to meal prep. I have to grocery shop. I have to structure meals that way. It'll feel brand new. You're potentially going to feel lost. Some of you may have a little bit of prior experience, but some of you have no experience. And that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. You can come in with zero experience because you can learn anything. So if you come in and you're starting this new job, this new system for your health and fitness component of your life, and you're going to try things, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to repeat, you're going to learn from it, and eventually you'll dial in your system where a year down the road, you'll be like, oh, this is second nature to me. I meal prep, bam, bam, bam. I got to make my things really quickly. I'm on the go. I got to structure a meal. Here's how I do it real fast to make sure there's enough plant-based protein is within my calories for the day. I'm eating out. I know what right options to make. I'm in a time crunch. Let me move these things around so I can get my workout in. It'll become second nature to you where it will become sustainable for you, right? So I think sustainability is always thrown out there, but it's a very broad term. But all it is you see yourself doing it for an extended period of time. But here's the thing, you can trick your body into that. You can teach your body new things, right? Assuming that you want it to fit within your current lifestyle. Your current lifestyle brought you where you are now. So if you're overweight and you're unhealthy, then you don't have the right system, right? You need a new system. New system is a new job. Do it over and over again, make mistakes, learn, repeat, refine, repeat, refine. Eventually it'll become second nature. And then that is going to become sustainable for you. What I put an emphasis in terms of sustainability is in not demonizing anything. So let's just say, I always say, how you lose the weight is how you keep it off. So if you come in and I'm like, we're gonna fear carbs, we're gonna stop eating after 7 p.m. I'm gonna make you fast 16 hours a day, and we're gonna do all this crazy shit. Then when you're done your transformation and you've reached your goal, that is the blueprint, the system you have in your head for how to live life to stay fit and healthy. Well, it wouldn't be healthy, right? But to be fit and healthy. That isn't sustainable. Do you see yourself not eating for 16 hours a day every single day for the rest of your life? Do you see yourself fearing carbs for the rest of your life? Do you see yourself, whatever weird shit you would have done, doing HIIT workouts for an hour every single day, 6 days a week? Do you see yourself doing that for the rest of your life? No, and that is not sustainable. What we teach is eat whole food, plant-based, a wide variety of it. We're not demonizing any fruits, any veggies, any grains, or anything like that. If you want to have like some vegan ice cream from time to time, it is fine. It's not going to kill you, right? It's like having one salad won't make you healthy. One pint of vegan ice cream won't make you unhealthy. So eat whole food, plant-based, eat a variety. If you want to treat from time to time, eat it, make it fit within your calories for the day. And the only thing we need to worry about is proportions and quantities. I try to boil down our system to its simplest form, right? So if I don't demonize any of the food, then you won't feel like shit because you didn't follow the plan, right? If I tell you can't eat carbs, you have to fear carbs, and you eat bread, you'll beat yourself up for it. And you're going to be like, well, I can't control myself around this food. There's none of that in our system. You want bread, have some freaking bread, right? Just make it fit with your calories. Don't beat yourself up, just half a slice or two, done. That's it. It's not going to destroy your whole transformation. You don't have to shoot yourself in the foot because you ate some bread. It doesn't make sense. So sustainability is eat real foods, whole food, plant-based. You want to treat from time to time, go for it. Just worry about proportions and quantity, which is going to change as you do the body recomposition and then speed up your metabolism post-fat loss with reverse dieting. Then you're going to be able to eat way more food. And it's like, what do I want to eat today? I would like to have a bowl of mango, date, bananas, and blueberries, and I'll have a little protein shake on the side, just so you want some fresh fruits in the morning. Or you want an oatmeal with a bunch of stuff. Like, you can literally have whatever you want. Prioritize whole food, plant-based eating, hit your plant-based protein for the day, hit your calories for the day. Once you reverse diet, you have a lot to eat. So you're pretty safe to move more towards intuitive eating at that point. Because currently, if I ask you to intuitively eat, you're probably going to eat the same way that you are right now, which is not working if you're not in the position that you want to be in, right? So anyways, I hope this makes sense. I always try to conceptualize these principles that I have in my head and as to like how we transform our members. And yeah, my mind is very in a systematic way currently, just because we've hired 4 new employees for Fit Vegan coaching. And I've had to build a lot of SOPs and new systems, so standard operating procedures. So my brain is very system oriented right now. So that's why I came up with this analogy. But I hope it was helpful, because if you can fundamentally understand the simplicity and the basics of what is needed for a transformation, you can detach yourself from the emotional fluctuation that comes from the journey. Like, yeah, it's not going to be perfect the whole way through. Yeah, your weight's going to fluctuate. Even if you stay and you do everything right, the weight will just fluctuate. Sometimes you sleep less, sometimes you sleep more. Sometimes your body retains more water depending on the time of the month that it is, depending on what activity you did. Sometimes your body's more inflamed than others. Like, there's so much things that are outside of your control that you'll never be able to see the number on the scale go down in a straight line. I've never, ever seen it for any transformation, right? In almost like 1,000 people, I've never seen that. It just won't happen. And so if you're able to understand the simplicity and the basics and the fundamentals of what needs to happen, then you can detach yourself from all the emotional fluctuation and just show up, put your hand on the flywheel, hard, spin, eventually continue spinning it, eventually gets easier and easier and easier and easier, and eventually becomes a part of who you are. And that wheel is full on in motion where it's pretty much turning by itself. All you got to do is put a finger on it and continue to spin it from time to time, but that's pretty much it. And that's how you stay fit and healthy for the rest of your life. Because like I said, it's not because you lose 30 pounds. It's not because you lose 30 pounds and then do reverse dieting and speed up your metabolism that after you can just be like, oh, I'm just going to stop working out and just eat way more food and eat terrible food. And then I don't have to worry because I sped up my metabolism and I did this transformation. No, even I, who have been exercising for 19 freaking years, if I stop, I will get fat. I will get unfit. I will lose my cardiovascular capacity. I will lose my athleticism, right? Eventually that wheel that has great momentum, eventually it will slow down because you're not putting any effort towards continuing to spin it, right? Eventually it slows down and goes to a dead stop. Now you have to restart again. It's very hard to restart again. So once you start and it's really hard and you go through that beginning hard phase where you've suffered to make it spin and have some momentum, all you got to do is just maintain, which is, again, so much easier to maintain than it is to start from a dead weight, right? All of you know that. And I used to play basketball, and the whole, like when the season would start from the summer, I didn't really play basketball intensely. I wouldn't train my cardiovascular health. And so every time it was training camp, oh my God, I would suffer. Regaining cardiovascular capacity for an athlete every year is terrible. Your lungs burn. You feel like shit. It burns every time, every year. I didn't like it. I didn't have the mindset that I have now, but yeah, it was tough. But then when I got in shape, it was like, oh, so much easier to do the practice. I could push, but my lungs weren't burning as much as they were when I first went into training camp. And then, the year would end and I taper off and then come back in, have to re-get in shape again. So eventually I just understood, like, I just have to stay at a minimum of cardiovascular health so I don't have to re-go through this beginning phase of starting from nothing. And so that's what I want for every single one of you. Once the wheel is spinning, it's so much easier to maintain it. All right. So hope this podcast was helpful. For those of you that want to be more involved into our world of Fit Vegan, I have several things for you. If you go in the link in the description, there's a link to sign up for our free Fit Vegan newsletter. I make sure that I write the most incredible lessons that I learned for the week, and it comes out every single Saturday. So by the time you're watching this, there's going to be another incredible one coming on Saturday. So make sure to sign up for that. Again, it's absolutely free. In addition to that, as a bonus, you'll get a series of 6 emails that'll tell you exactly how to calculate your protein, your calories. They'll give you access to 101 exercise videos that are recorded, some meal plans, some recipes, a lot of other cool shit, absolutely for free to help you on your transformation. And then there's another link for you to join our free Fit Vegan community. We used to have a group on Facebook. I don't like Facebook anymore, so I built my own platform. You can jump on there. All you got to do is just create your account for free. I do have to approve it. So, give me 24 to 40 hours to approve it on there. I do weekly live training for absolutely free for 1 hour on there, talking about different topics. So sometimes we talk about how to avoid sarcopenia, how to combat osteoporosis, how to speed up your metabolism. All the Fit Vegan masterclass that we do with our amazing speakers and coaches are posted in there. There's a lot of great resources. There's a ton of recipes, a ton of ebooks that I wrote. We have special guests come in and speak. Like, there's a lot happening in that group. And if you're listening to this on the Thursday that it came out, until the end of January, anyone that joins our new community, I'll be giving away 10 $50 Amazon gift cards just as a thank you for moving over from the Facebook group ultimately. Check out those links down below. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel because we're trying to hit 7,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if you're listening on audio, be sure to subscribe so that we can, continue to grow and continue to have incredible guests. And so I appreciate you all, and I hope you have an incredible day. Bye, everyone.